Welcome. So, if you're here, I think that means you're curious about how to buy your first house. So, you've come to the right place. Now, I'm going to go over the 5 steps you should take to purchase your first home. And you might be wondering, well, who the hell is this guy? Well, I'll tell you. If you click on the link below, go check us out. I'm not going to talk about us too much, but I'll just tell you this. Over 20 years of doing this, I can honestly say I don't think anyone else would be more qualified to talk about first-time home buyers and to help first-time home buyers than our team is. So click the link, check out our website, look at our reviews. We love first-time home buyers. So let's just get into it. The first thing that I think you should do is find a realtor. Find a real estate agent. And you might say, how do I find a real estate agent? There's a few different ways to do it, but I suggest anyone I need to hire, I like to ask my friends and family. That sounds simple, but real estate is a very personal thing, and you might spend a lot of time with your real estate agent. So I would ask my friends and family who I respect and trust who their realtor is and if they liked them and what their thoughts were. And I would listen really carefully with this because a few things. One, think about who are you asking? Are your friends a bunch of morons? I mean, if that's the case, maybe you need to rethink who you're getting a referral from. But if it's someone that you like and they're smart and you trust them, listen to what they say. And if they like them, I would listen to the context. If they were like, oh, I love my realtor. We went out and we had shots and got hammered every time we looked at houses. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's what you're looking for. But what I would be looking for is, did they feel like they can trust them? Was their agent experienced? Was their agent a good negotiator? Did they have things happen? But more than anything, first and foremost, the trust factor is the number one thing you want to find in a realtor. What you don't want is to find somebody that is out for their commission, somebody that's trying to convince you constantly to buy every house that you see. So when you get some names from some people, Google them. Look at reviews. There's reviews on everything online nowadays. So read some reviews and sift through it. You got to be careful. Sometimes you'll find those reviews of some agents that say things like, every house we looked at, the agent tried to get me to buy it. You got to try to sift through that and find, okay, is this someone that I feel like I could trust? That's above everything else. Step 2, call that realtor or call several. I would really recommend, it's not a bad idea to reach out to more than one and schedule a sit down or an interview or a meeting, whatever you want to call it. Sit down with them in person. And I think that's so important because this is, like I said, a relationship that you might be dealing with this realtor for a long time. It's not like a car salesman where you can just go to another lot and talk to somebody else and you maybe never have to see that person again. This might be someone that you deal with for years, okay? So you need to make sure that you like them. Also, I think it's interesting, we always meet with our buyers and a lot of good agents do that. The last person that found us online told me they emailed 4 different agents and I was the only one that really responded with a genuine response. The rest were like, great, what's your budget? They just didn't seem to care. So reach out and sit down with them. When you sit down with them, that's the time not only to see if you really get along, but also explain what your goals are, what you're looking for, and then allow the agent to show you what do they do. When we meet with the client, we have a 5-step process that we show people of what they can expect from us. And I think that's really important to set expectations of how we're going to communicate, what we're going to do for you, and what we expect from you, vice versa. So having that sit-down meeting before you go look at houses, I think is really important. So the 3rd step is to get a pre-approval. That's assuming you're getting a mortgage. If you're a cash buyer, you can totally skip this step. But if you need a mortgage, getting a pre-approval is the next step. And why I think it's the 3rd step is because once you meet with your realtor, if it's an experienced agent, he might be able to guide you better in referring you to some local lenders based on what you're looking for. So for example, if you're looking for a multifamily property in a certain area of the city of Buffalo, they might know of, hey, this lender has this program for first-time buyer multifamily, and in this area they have a $5,000 credit available. So just from their experience, they might be able to point you in the right direction, knowing what you're looking for first instead of just showing up to a bank. I'm not going to talk too much about financing, but what I do want to say is there's a lot of misconceptions misconceptions about financing. Some people think you need zero money to buy a house, and other people assume you need 20% down. A lot of times, neither of those are true. So talking to a local expert to look at your unique situation and let you know what you're approved for, how much cash you need to bring to closing, and what your payment looks like. It's different for everybody. So talking to an expert with a really good reputation is really important. The one thing I do want to talk to about that misconception is the cash needed to close. So there are 3 chunks of cash that you need to bring to the closing table, okay? The first one is that down payment. And as I mentioned, down payment can range anywhere from 0 to 25% down. It's going to be different dependent on your debt to income, the program that you qualify for, etc. So down payment is just one of the things you need. The second chunk of cash that you need to bring to closing is the prepaids. So this is another reason why a local lender is really helpful, because things are done differently in different states. In New York State, your taxes and insurance are paid a year in advance. So I'm not going to get into how they set up the escrow, but essentially you need to plan for a year's worth of taxes and insurance up front. So that's one of those things when you deal with a bank from another state, they don't always know that, and their closing cost estimate can be way off sometimes. So the prepaids, the taxes and insurance is the second chunk of cash that you need to come up with at closing. The third chunk of cash you need to bring to the table is the closing costs. Now, closing costs include things like your attorney fee, your bank appraisal fee, a processing fee for the bank, your credit report. There's a mortgage tax. Every bank has closing costs. So the closing costs, the prepaids, and the down payment, that makes up the cash needed to close. So when you're shopping around, it's not just about the interest rate. You have to compare what's the cash needed to close. We see all the time where sometimes there's a bait and switch with lenders trying to get business where they'll tell you it's a lower rate, but maybe they're just raking you over the coals with junk fees to close. So the cash needed to close is a huge misconception, but this is why I think it should be the third step. Find a realtor you trust first. Get some referrals from them for some really great, honest lenders, so then you can compare and find out what exactly you're approved for. All right, the fourth step, now you can go looking for houses because you got your pre-approval, you got your realtor set up, you go house hunting now. Now the fun begins. So go out there, start looking at houses, and when you're looking at houses, your realtor should be educating you along the way, especially if you don't know anything about houses. You know, we try to never pretend we're home inspectors, but most first-time buyers, because they've never owned a home before, don't know as much about houses. So the realtor should not only point out things that they see that are good about the house and be optimistic, they should also point out things that are problems. Anything problematic that might cost you money in the future. Also, looking at resale. I think it's really important if you like a house and say it backs up to the thruway. You might not think about this, but an experienced realtor knows, listen, if you like this house, I just want you to know, backing up to the thruway, it might make it harder to resell in the future. I think a first-time buyer needs to be very aware of resale value. That is one of the keys to building equity, is a house that not only suits you now, but is something that can help build equity for the future. So that's the sort of things I think an agent should be doing when advocating for you, searching for homes, truly looking out for your best interest. And the fifth and final step is actually buying the house. Now, the buying process here takes 2 months. We're not going to get into all those steps. But what I want to get into is when you make an offer, the first question everybody always has is, what should I offer on this house? And the answer I usually have is, I don't know yet, because I want to look at the comps. So your agent, before you put an offer in, should send you comps or comparable sales. That is the only way to know what is this house worth, because a house is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay. And how do you know what the house is worth if you don't know what other buyers were willing to pay for a similar home? You need to know that info. The example I always give is when you go grocery shopping. If you go to a grocery store and buy Doritos and they're buy one, get one free, and I go to a different grocery store and I pay full price, you might think you got a better deal, but you don't know that. You don't know if you got a better deal unless you know what was the price that you actually paid, because you might have paid more for your buy one get one free gimmick than I did buying 2 bags at full price. But you don't know if it's a good deal if you don't know what else is out there. So that's the importance of looking at the comps. And at the end of the day, it's up to you what you want to pay, but I think you have every right to look at the numbers and say this is a house you don't want to lose, and you do want to overpay because you don't want to lose it. You just should know, what do we think the value of the house is? And you make the decision. The other thing is, there's been so much, especially since COVID, about people paying over the asking price, and people just assume you're overpaying for a house. A lot of the times that these houses go way over the asking price, not all the time, but a lot of the times, they're grossly underpriced. So it's not uncommon that we'll see a house that's grossly underpriced, and the comps show, hey, this house should be $50,000 more, and our client offers $50,000 more, and they get it. So they're not even overpaying, but you don't know if you don't look at the comps. So that's the 5th and final step that I think is really important to buying your first home, is when you're out there and there's a house that you like, you gotta do your research with your agent. Look at the numbers so you know what you're talking about. You can make an educated offer, and that will help you get into the house that you want to be your first home. Other than that, I hope this was helpful for you. This was way longer than I expected. I'm very sorry I talked too much, but if there's anything else we can help you with, check out our info that's below. I think it's below here somewhere. I can't really see what's below the screen, but reach out to us if you have any questions. We would love to help you. And if we don't talk to you, happy house hunting. Good luck.